I remember the day it all started. It was the early 2000s, and I was just a kid sitting in front of my computer, mesmerized by the blur of pixels that formed a rally car hurtling through the narrow, treacherous roads of Colin McRae Rally 1. I had no idea what I was doing. I was using a keyboard to steer, for crying out loud. But the thrill, the pure adrenaline rush of trying to control that car as it slid across the dirt, was something I had never felt before. It was chaotic, clumsy, and completely addictive. That day, a spark was lit. As the years passed, my obsession grew. Colin McRae Rally 2 came out, and it felt like a revelation. Everything was sharper, faster, more intense. But the one thing that hadn't changed was me, frantically mashing the arrow keys, trying to keep the car on track. I'd lose control on the tightest of corners, watching helplessly as my car flew off the edge of a cliff, crashing down into pixelated oblivion. And yet, I couldn't stop. Every race felt like a new chance to conquer the beast of rally racing. But deep down, I knew there had to be more. There was a limit to what I could do with a keyboard. I was hungry for more precision, more control. That's when I stumbled upon the Holy Grail, the MOMO Racing Wheel. The moment I saw it online, my heart skipped a beat. It had a sleek black design, paddle shifters, and pedals. I imagined what it would feel like to hold a real wheel, to step on a pedal instead of tapping a key. It was like staring at the future. I saved every penny I could. I scoured secondhand markets, begged my parents, and finally, after what felt like an eternity, it was mine. The MOMO Racing Wheel was in my hands. I couldn't wait to plug it in and get started. But oh man, I had no idea what I was in for. The first few laps were a disaster. I had spent years mastering the art of steering with the tap-tap of arrow keys, and now, with this wheel in front of me, everything was different. The car responded to every little movement I made. I could feel the tires gripping or losing grip on the gravel, and I wasn't ready for it. I spun out more times than I could count. My times were worse than ever. I was devastated. I had thought this wheel would instantly make me faster, but instead, I was struggling to even finish a race. I was on the verge of giving up, but something inside me refused to let go. I remembered those early days with Colin McRae Rally, how bad I had been back then too. But I had gotten better. I could do it again. So I kept pushing. Night after night, race after race, I worked with that wheel, slowly learning how to control the car. Every mistake was a lesson. Every crash was a step forward. There were days when I felt like I was making no progress at all. My times were inconsistent. One race, I'd nail a perfect lap, and the next, I'd crash on the first corner. It was maddening. But even in those moments of frustration, I could feel something changing. I was starting to understand the car. I could feel when the tires were about to slip, when I needed to brake just a little earlier, or when I could push through a turn with just the right amount of throttle. It was like I was learning a new language. One spoken not with words, but with the rhythm of the road, the pull of the wheel, and the hum of the engine. Then came Richard Burns' Rally. I had heard about it, how it was the most realistic rally simulator out there, a game that didn't hold your hand or forgive your mistakes. If you wanted to race with the best, you had to earn it. I was terrified, but I knew I had to try. It was time to step up. The first race was brutal. I barely made it through the first stage without rolling my car into a ditch. But this time, I didn't let it get to me. I knew this was part of the process. I kept at it, pushing through each stage, learning every bump and curve, every jump and hairpin. The game didn't give me anything for free, but that's what made it so satisfying. Every inch I gained, I earned with blood, sweat, and tears. And slowly, something incredible happened. My times began to drop. Not just by tenths of a second, but by whole seconds. I started feeling like I was in control, like the car was an extension of my body. Each turn became a dance, each straightaway an opportunity to push harder, brake later, and accelerate smoother. The wheel felt alive in my hands, and the pedals responded to my every touch. Then, one fateful day, it all came together. I was racing on one of the most difficult tracks, a nightmare of tight corners and long straights, and I felt unstoppable. Every move was perfect. Every turn was on point. I crossed the finish line, breathless, my heart pounding. When I saw the time, I couldn't believe it. I had not only beaten my personal best, I had shattered it. I was now racing with the best of the best, with times that could stand up against anyone. In that moment, all the frustration, all the setbacks, all the long nights of practice, it all made sense. I had climbed the mountain, and the view from the top was spectacular. I was no longer that kid sitting at a keyboard, dreaming of mastering rally racing. I was a sim racer, a real competitor, and the road ahead was wide open. The world of sim racing had given me more than I ever imagined. It had taught me patience, perseverance, and the thrill of pushing beyond my limits. And now every race feels like a new adventure, a new challenge, and a chance to prove to myself that I can always be better. So here I am, racing with the best, holding my own, and loving every second of it. And the journey? It's only just begun.